Right. Okay, Chamber. So for consent reasons, obviously, you don't have to answer every question. If you don't feel comfortable at any time, just say skip.
Yep.
Just to start off with, what your experiences from football?
So I started off from a young age. I joined, I think I was about 7-year-old. I joined Middlesbrough Academy, and I was there for a good 8. I think it was 8 years. Obviously, you adapt a lot to that, but it's very Cat 1 football, very like passing based, distribution based. So I think that helps me with my game. But also like moving into a Category 3 academy now, moving into Doncaster, you see a lot more the winning side of the game. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's like progressing through the age groups as well, but. Yeah, definitely.
So
more
what,
direct.
what age group did you leave Middlesbrough and then come to?
I left Middlesbrough at under 15s, and then I had a year out on my year 11 GCSE year, and then I joined Doncaster on March 2021 on trial, and then I signed in April. So I've been here for just short of a year now.
What have been your achievements? It don't have to be in football, anything.
Well, I mean, won quite a few, obviously tournaments and things in football. Obviously with Middlesbrough and like with academies in general, you don't really get like trophies and things like that. But I've played in some places. I played against teams like Dortmund, abroad against teams like Villarreal, Seville, and being involved against Barcelona also.
Yeah. Have you got any hobbies away from football?
Away from football, I like, obviously, I know it's another one, but I like going to watch football. I like sometimes play a bit of squash, go to the gym and things like that.
Your profile, so your name, your date of birth, height. Well, we've got a name first, obviously, Tom Chambers. Date of birth?
27th of October 2002.
Height, do you know height and centimetres?
6'4.5".
Cool. Do you know your weight in kilograms?
Yeah, 82.
What are your role models?
So I look to, obviously, I think keepers like in Doncaster in my position, well, in the position I want to be in a few years' time. So I do look to keepers like obviously Lewis Jones and Jonathan Mitchell, but also like he's going to hate me say, well, he's going to love me saying this, but Ben Bottomley as well, because obviously he's in a position, first year pro, and obviously I work a lot closer with him, if you know what I mean. So I do look at certain techniques and things like that, and obviously try and take a few things, bits and bobs from him.
Have you got any inspirations, any like from your childhood, growing up?
Obviously, watching like Middlesbrough a lot, I do want to be playing like really high level football. That's like the main target I really want to be aiming for, to be honest.
Is there any so who was like growing up? Who was like the goalkeeper you looked to?
Keeper I was looking at was like obviously keepers like Darren Randolph, Victor Valdez when he was at Middlesbrough in 2016-17, and not recently, but keepers like Ainsley Pears, who I worked with a little bit while I was at the club. Obviously, I do look up to keepers like that.
How many times do you train with your technical coach?
Nick's every day, about 45 minutes each day, I'd say.
Was that 7 days a week, 5 days a week?
5 days a week, well, no, 4 days a week, and then Saturday mornings, obviously, a game, so obviously warm up and things like that.
How long are your training sessions? 45 minutes, like you just said. How long are your training sessions in general? Because obviously today you train 2.5 hours.
It varies, to be honest. So it depends on like what we've got the day after. So if we have college the day after, it'll be like maybe a double session. So I'd say an hour and 45 minutes on the morning, then maybe like 45 minutes on the afternoon. I'd say on a day like today, we normally do an hour and a half. I know we went over a little bit. But yeah, generally it just varies depending on what we've got.
How does pre-season differ to mid-season training and end-of-season training? So how does it progress?
Yeah. Pre-season training is very difficult, as most people know. Less about technical side of things, more about physically, more getting ready for the season. As the season starts, you're still doing sort of like running and things like that. But as the season progresses, So like we're at the stage now where obviously I still do a lot of fitness with Nick and things like that, but not as much running at the end of sessions because fitness levels are generally where they need to be.
Has there been any environmental issues that have disrupted your training? So an example is that if it rains really bad, where do you go? Do you just not train, or if it snows, have you got anything with you?
Obviously, if you mentioned rain as a goalkeeper, I mean, we'd sort of use it in our favour, but I mean, I don't think there's ever been a type of condition that's affected, like, well, that stopped us from training. Obviously it's affected it, but like I say, rain obviously makes the ball quicker. Obviously you have to adapt your game to that, and obviously I haven't trained much, played much in the snow, but obviously it might be different as a result.
Do you find a difference in the surface, so from AstroTurf to grass?
Yeah, massively. So I prefer playing on grass, really. AstroTurfs are very, it can get quite like hard on the legs when you're constantly diving and getting up, but yeah, I enjoy diving a lot more on grass and things like that with like soft surface and things like that, yeah.
Before training, how does your coach brief you on your sessions? So do you have a chat before training, talk about what you're doing?
We have like team meetings, so obviously Cal will go through certain aspects of what we're trying to cover, whether it's like pre-match, what we're trying to cover for the game. But then as we're going out, Nick will tell us what we're trying to focus on. So like today we've been like me doing working on my footwork and like staying forward. So yeah, we get a short brief before we go out. Yeah.
What are your strengths in your game? We briefly talked about it out there.
Yeah, we've had a. So I'd say I'd say I'm quite confident with my distribution. I'd say, obviously because of my big frame, I'd say short range shot stopping is positive, and I'd say I'm quite confident at dealing with crosses. Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, what do you think you need to work on?
I'd say a lot of staying forward, keeping my set position forward, being a bit less, I'd say like rigid with my set position, being a bit more, I wouldn't say relaxed, but a bit more like loose, but also being aggressive at the same time. I'd also say low dives, so like I said, being aggressive, being able to like, and obviously a lot of it works with each other, so keeping a low set position in order to like be aggressive with the low dive.
How does your coach, your technical coach, give you technical feedback?
So between each set, obviously we'll get the pros and cons, so Nick give us, if my footwork's been particularly good for that set, he'll be obviously tell me, and if there's anything I need to improve on, then obviously that'll also be addressed. But it's between each set, I'd say, and then an overall view at the end of the session or 45 minutes or so.
Do you record sessions of games?
Obviously games are recorded on video. Sometimes Nick gets a GoPro out to go on the goal. But yeah, so if we're doing, especially in training, Nick will get his phone out and he'll record individual like coaching tips, things like that, to see where I'm going wrong and how to improve.
Do your strengths and weaknesses marry up to your technical coach's view? So yours the same as both ways?
I'd say they are, yeah. I'd say a lot of my strengths and weaknesses are like mutually agreed. So like he'll address something, he'll ask me what I think, and most of the time I do agree. Yeah.
And how long do you spend working on the areas that you've identified you need to work on?
What's that, sorry?
How long do you spend in the week working on the areas you've identified that you need to improve on?
We'll do new topics, I'd say half the time, but I'd say a lot of the time we are working on, because obviously it's 18s, it's sort of like professional development phase, so you sort of like, obviously there's a lot to work on, but in some bits it's just finishing touches.
Yeah.
So sometimes it'll just be working on like the little things. Yeah. I'd say twice to 3 times a week.
Perfect.